Welcome, and get ready for a deep dive into, well, a really dynamic and rapidly expanding sector of the global economy. We're talking about the global marine measurement and analytical solutions market today. Our mission really is to go beyond just the raw numbers you might find in a market forecast. We want to extract the important stuff, those key nuggets of knowledge, giving you a real shortcut to understanding where this crucial industry is headed and maybe uh, why it's headed there.
Exactly. We'll be looking at detailed market projections, figures from 2021, forecast for 2025, and then looking way ahead to 2033. We've got the compound annual growth rates too. But like you said, it's more than just numbers. We want to connect those dots, offer you, the clearest possible view of the trends, the dynamics shaping this vital market.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we jump straight into the financials, maybe you could quickly paint a picture for us. For anyone maybe new to this specific area, what exactly are marine measurement and analytical solutions? What kind of tech are we talking about?
Sure, absolutely. So think of it as a whole suite of tools, really cutting-edge stuff, all vital for understanding our oceans. You've got sophisticated sonar for mapping the seafloor, navigating. There's remote sensing gear that monitors water quality, marine life, even sea ice changes. Then there's the advanced analytical software to actually make sense of all that data. And even things like autonomous underwater vehicles AUVs used for, well, everything from research to resource exploration, even maritime security. It's pretty much the full kit we use to observe, measure, and, analyze our marine environments.
Okay, that definitely helps frame it. So let's start with that big global current, the overall picture. The global market was valued at roughly $6.7 billion back in 2021. That already sounds pretty significant. But what's the trajectory looking like from there?
What's fascinating here is the sheer momentum, the upward trend. From that $6.7 billion in 2021, it's expected to climb past $8.3 billion by 2025, and then it accelerates further, hitting a really remarkable $13 billion projected by 2033.
Wow, 13 billion.
Yeah. And this expansion, it's driven by a pretty consistent global compound annual growth rate. It's CAGR of nearly 5.7%. So this isn't just random growth. It really signals increasing global investment, maybe even reliance on understanding our oceans better.
Almost 5.7% globally, year on year. That's a strong, steady climb. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me breaking it down by region. Where are the growth hotspots? What's shaping these markets differently around the world? Let's maybe start with North America, often a leader in tech adoption.
North America is definitely a powerhouse in this space, yeah.
Yep.
The region itself, it's projected to almost double its market size. Went from nearly $1.9 billion in 2021.
Right, $1.886 billion roughly.
Exactly, and it's projected to reach over $3.8 billion by 2033. That's supported by a strong CAGR, around 5.9%.
So it's slightly above the global average.
Just a bit, yeah. And a lot of this robust expansion, especially you see it in the United States, which holds the lion's share, it seems fueled by significant investments in oceanographic research, cutting-edge stuff. Plus the expansion of offshore energy, think of wind farms, and definitely increased government spending on maritime security and environmental monitoring.
Makes sense. And the U.S. numbers.
Big numbers. The U.S. started at about $1.4 billion in 2021, expected to hit $1.8 billion by 2025, and then jump to nearly $2.95 billion by 2033. That's growing at over 6% CAGR, 6.196% to be precise.
Okay. And Canada and Mexico.
Also showing steady growth. Canada was around $180 million in 2021, climbing towards $375 million by 2033, also over 6% CAGR. Mexico, a bit slower growth, started larger at about $302 million in 2021, projected to reach about $487 million by 2033, with a KGR closer to 4.4%. Still growing, but reflecting maybe different priorities or investment levels.
Interesting variations even within North America. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic. Europe, huge coastlines, long maritime history. They generated what, over 1.2, almost $1.3 billion in 2021.
That's right, $1.289 billion. And projected to reach nearly $2.63 billion by 2033.
And the growth rate there.
Also very strong, actually slightly higher than North America's overall, almost exactly 6% CAGR, 5.998% to be exact.
Wow. So within Europe, are there any standout countries or maybe surprising growth areas?
Absolutely. And what's really striking about Europe is a diversity within that strong growth.
Hmm.
For instance, you look at Russia. It actually shows one of the highest regional GGRs,
Okay.
over 6.3%.
Higher than the UK or Germany.
Yeah, starting from about $154 million in 2021 and heading towards $330 million by 2033.
Yeah.
Now, this could point to maybe an increased focus on Arctic exploration or perhaps new resource projects up north. It's hard to say definitively, but the number is high.
Interesting. Who else is strong?
Italy and the UK are right up there too, both showing very healthy growth, CGRs over 6.2%. Italy going from about $82 million to $175 million. UK from $97 million to $206 million, likely driven by, established maritime sectors and research.
And the bigger economies like France and Germany.
Solid, steady growth. France is projected to grow from $165 million to $323 million. That's about 5.7% CAGR. Germany from $108 million to nearly $207 million, growing around 5.6% annually. Reflects sustained investment. Yeah.
Okay. And there are quite a few others listed here. Spain, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, even Luxembourg.
Exactly. Spain's around 5.9% CAGR, Sweden 5.6%, Denmark 5.7%, Switzerland 5.9%. Luxembourg actually showing a strong 6.2% CAGR, though starting from a smaller base, about $14 million. And then you have the rest of Europe category, which collectively goes from $431 million to nearly $890 million, also growing fast at over 6% CAGR. It really shows a widespread commitment across the continent.
A really diverse but consistently strong picture in Europe. Okay, let's shift focus to Asia Pacific, a region we know for rapid tech adoption, massive coastlines. Sales were, about $1.4 billion in 2021?
Just over $1.4 billion, yes. Holzgausen $417.5 million. And projected to hit over $2.7 billion by 2033.
And the growth rate?
A solid CGR of about 5.6%. So right around the global average, maybe a touch below Europe and North America overall, but still very significant growth.
What's driving that huge expansion in a region so key to, global trade and marine resources?
Well, Asia Pacific is definitely a powerhouse of innovation and investment here. Look at Japan, for example. In terms of market value, they're really leading the pack regionally. Their market's expected to more than double, over $312 million in 2021, projected to reach over $636 million by 2033. That's with a strong CAGR near 6%.
And that's likely driven by?
Probably their advanced tech capabilities,
Yeah.
significant research efforts in marine science.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And China, obviously a huge player.
Huge contributor, yes. Recorded nearly $310 million in 2021. Projected to grow to over $571 million by 2033. Their CAGR is slightly lower, around 5.35%, but given their scale, it's still massive growth. Driven by, their immense coastline, growing naval presence, lots of marine infrastructure projects.
Okay. What about India?
India's another key player. Stood at about $166 million in 2021, heading towards $316 million by 2033. That's a growth rate around 5.5%, pretty steady. Reflects increasing offshore activity, maybe environmental concerns too.
And other significant countries, South Korea, Australia, Singapore.
Yep, all contributing. South Korea is projected to grow from about $60 million to $109 million, around 5.3% CAGR. Australia from about $57 million to $106 million, 5.4% CAGR. Singapore from $75 million to $146 million, about 5.7% CAGR. And you also see solid growth in Southeast Asia as a collective region, and Taiwan showing a strong 5.9% CAGR. It really underscores the whole region's commitment to marine intelligence for trade, defense, resources.
A truly dynamic region. Okay, we've covered the big three. Let's look at some other important areas. South America, lots of marine resources, but maybe seen as more of an emerging market for some of these advanced solutions. What's the picture there?
South America, it's smaller in total market size compared to the others we've discussed, but definitely holds significant potential. It's projected to grow from just under $500 million in 2021, $492.8 million, to over $900 million by 2033.
And the growth rate?
A solid 5.3% CAGR overall for the region. Brazil is the largest contributor by far, starting at nearly $180 million, heading towards $325 million. That's likely driven by its huge coastline and its offshore energy sector. Its CAGR is slightly below the regional average, though, about 5.2%.
Okay, but you mentioned potential. Any standouts?
What's really interesting is Chile. It shows the highest regional CAGR, over 6.1%.
Higher than Brazil's growth rate.
Yeah. Starting smaller, about $10 million in 2021, but projected to nearly double to almost $20 million by 2033. This could be down to maybe an increased focus on managing its very long coastline fisheries, resource exploration, environmental monitoring, perhaps.
Interesting. And Argentina, Colombia, Peru?
Also showing steady growth.
Uh,
Argentina about $78 million, growing to $146 million with a 5.4% CGR. Colombia $53 million to $94 million, just over 5% CGR. Peru, a bit slower, $20 million to $35 million, about 4.9% CAGR. And the rest of South America category also shows healthy growth around 5.5%. So it indicates a kind of collective regional uptick in using marine data. Good potential there. Now, the Middle East. Valued around $417 million in 2021, projected to grow to over $770 million by 2033, CGR about 5.3%. Given its role in global energy, shipping, what are the key drivers and strategic areas there?
The Middle East definitely has strategic growth areas, often tied, like you said, to energy and maritime security. Qatar, for instance, shows the highest regional KGR, over 5.7%, going from about $18 million to $35 million. That could well be linked to its huge oil and gas industry, but also maybe ambitious infrastructure projects, port development.
And Saudi Arabia, largest market there.
It is, recorded about $123 million in 2021, heading towards $214 million by 2033. Growth is consistent, though the CAGR is slightly lower, just under 5%, driven by investments in ports, marine industries.
Okay. And Turkey, UAE, Egypt.
Yep.
All significant contributors. Turkey shows good growth, over 5.5% CAGR, from $63 million to $120 million. The UAE, a major global shipping hub, sees steady growth around 5.3% CAGR, from about $40 million to $73 million. Egypt is growing a bit slower, similar to Saudi Arabia, around 4.9% CGR, from $18 million to $31 million. And the rest of the Middle East also shows solid 5.6% growth. A lot of it seems linked to economic diversification efforts, moving beyond just oil, leading to more investment in marine tech for environmental work and coastal development.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, let's look at Africa. The market there stood at, wow, $1.2 billion in 2021. That's higher than South America or the Middle East.
Yes, 1,200.92 million, projected to reach over 2.17 billion by 2033.
Growing at about 5.2% CAGR. What are the main contributors, the dynamics shaping growth on the continent?
Africa is definitely a continent with immense marine resources, and there's a growing awareness of their importance. Nigeria really stands out as the largest market contributor. Its figures grew from nearly $460 million in 2021.
Almost half the continent's total.
Pretty much, yeah. And projected to hit over $814 million by 2033. The TAGR is around 5.1%. This is largely influenced by, well, its significant oil and gas industry, but also developing maritime trade.
And South Africa.
South Africa follows, showing substantial growth too. Started at about $345 million in 2021, heading towards $630 million by 2033. Its growth rate is a bit higher than Nigeria's, around 5.3% CAGR, reflects its long coastline, established ports.
And the rest of the continent.
The rest of Africa category contributes significantly too, about $396 million, growing to $729 million, also with a healthy 5.3% CAGR. The overall trend across Africa seems to indicate, a rising demand for these marine measurement solutions. For resource management, protecting coasts, tackling illegal fishing or smuggling.
Yeah.
It highlights a continent really starting to harness its blue economy potential.
Okay. We've really navigated through the impressive figures and trends of the global marine measurement and analytical solutions market. Covered every major region, key economies looking from 2021 right through to 2033 projections.
So what does this all mean when you put it all together? Well, this deep dive, it really reveals a market that's not just growing, but dynamic and substantially expanding pretty much everywhere. It just underscores the critical and growing role these solutions play on a truly global scale. It signals, I think, a collective increasing focus on our oceans for commerce, energy, environmental protection, security, you name it. And remember, this kind of knowledge, these numbers, they're most valuable when you understand the context and can apply it, to the real world.
Absolutely. So let me leave you with this thought. Given this immense and really varied global growth we're seeing projected for marine measurement and analytical solutions, what might these figures truly tell us about our increasing global focus on and maybe our reliance within our oceans over this next decade? And perhaps how will these rapidly evolving technologies continue to shape our fundamental interaction with the planet's most vital and maybe still most mysterious resource?